All right, let's dive into a story that's, well, it's seriously chilling. It's a tale of sin, deep secrets, and a vengeance that comes from beyond the grave. Our story begins inside the supposedly sacred walls of St. Mary's Sacred Heart Church in Kolkata. Now, this was a place where young women came to dedicate their lives to God, but a single silent new arrival was about to unleash a nightmare that no one could wake up from.
You know, right from the jump, you get this feeling of dread. It's all seen through the eyes of a young nun in training named Ruma. She's devout, she's paying attention, but she has this gut feeling, this intuition, just screaming at her that something is deeply, fundamentally wrong with the newest girl to join them. Her unease is really the first clue in a mystery that's about to unravel in the most terrifying way you can imagine.
So let's really picture the scene here. Life inside this training center is all about quiet routine, prayer, service, a sanctuary of peace. But into all that tranquility, the head of the center, Mother Superior Agnes, introduces a new face, a quiet, 22-year-old girl named Maria. Her arrival is supposed to be just another addition to their group, but really, it marks the beginning of the end.
And here's where things get strange right away. Mother Agnes presents Maria as this devout, special individual, almost like a gift to their order. But Maria herself, she's like a ghost. She won't make eye contact with anyone. Her face is just a blank mask of this profound sorrow, and without saying a single word, she just disappears into her room. Her silence is almost louder than a scream, right? It just sparks this mix of curiosity, a little pity, and this creeping dread among the other girls.
For Ruma, this just doesn't sit right. She's watching, and during morning prayer, she notices Maria isn't praying. She's muttering something else, something resistant. So Ruma gets closer, and that's when a chill just snakes down her spine. The voice coming from Maria's lips is not hers. It's this deep, guttural, layered man's voice. And that's it. That's the moment Ruma's fear flips into resolve. She thinks to herself, okay, I have to find out what's going on here.
So that night, you can imagine, Ruma can't sleep. That voice is just echoing in her head in the silence. She's convinced something terrible is happening, so she waits until the whole convent is still, and then she starts creeping silently through the dark halls, heading straight for Maria's room. She is determined to see what's happening behind that closed door. The question just hangs there, thick with dread. What could possibly be so awful that it's hiding in the dead of night? Ruma presses her face to the cool glass of the window, peering into the dark room, and what she witnesses is going to shatter her faith and her sanity. Okay, this is the absolute point of no return. First, she just sees Maria's body in a chair, but it's twisted. Bent in ways a human body just shouldn't bend. And you can just imagine the sound. With an audible crack, her head snaps all the way around, a full 180 degrees, to stare right at the window, right at Ruma. Can you even process that? The sight is so grotesque, so unnatural that Ruma just lets out this scream that rips through the holy silence of the church. Let's just pause on the sheer horror of this for a second. The source describes a body broken and contorted like a rubber doll, but it's the face. The face is straight out of a nightmare. Where Maria's eyes should be, there are just these deep, empty, black pits. And when its lips part, the teeth are as black as burning coal. This is no longer Maria. It's a demon wearing her skin.
Ruma's scream, of course, wakes everyone up. Mother Agnes and the other girls come running. They find her on the floor, just paralyzed by shock, a trembling finger pointing toward Maria's room. The secret is out. The horror has been unleashed for everyone to see.
As Mother Agnes cautiously goes into the room, the creature that was Maria just lunges. It moves not like a person, but with the explosive ferocity of a predator. It tackles the Mother Superior and sinks its blackened teeth right into her arm, tearing away flesh. It's an act of pure, unrestrained violence, and it's proof that they are dealing with a force of incredible and evil power. The priests of the church, drawn by all the chaos, arrived at the scene from a nightmare. They find Mother Agnes bleeding and in shock, but strangely, after the attack, the possessed Maria becomes utterly calm again, just retreating to her chair. The priests seize the moment, they lock her in the room, and they recognize immediately that they are facing an evil far beyond their prayers. A call is made for an expert, the exorcist, Father Adamond. 3 days later, the renowned exorcist arrives. The stage is set for a full-on spiritual war. Maria is bound to a chair, surrounded by a circle of crosses and burning candles.
Father Adamon begins the ancient, sacred rites of exorcism, his voice filling the room with holy Latin. As Father Adamant presses the assault, the entity inside Maria fights back. The candles blow out, the air grows impossibly cold, and a shriek from another world tears from Maria's throat. But then, something even more shocking happens. As Maria's body convulses, Mother Agnes, standing nearby, freezes. Her eyes snap open, and they are the same terrifying jet-black pits Ruma saw in the window. The demon has jumped from one body to another. But through Mother Agnes, the entity doesn't threaten, it pleads. It promises to reveal the truth, to confess the original sin that invited this nightmare into their lives. And so the dark, rotten secret of St. Mary's Church begins to pour from the lips of the possessed Mother Superior.
The confession reveals a story not just of breaking sacred vows, but of horrifying cruelty. A year earlier, Maria had a forbidden affair with a young priest, Father Neil. When she became pregnant, Neil and Mother Agnes conspired to hide the scandal, not to protect Maria, but to protect the Church's reputation. They induced a premature birth, and then committed the ultimate sin.
This is the heart of the darkness. The possessed Mother Agnes confesses that she and Father Neil took Maria's tiny, newborn child, who was born alive, out to the church cemetery and buried it in the cold earth. This single act of murder poisoned the holy ground, and it's this sin that has called forth a spirit of absolute vengeance. The entity, now understood to be a vengeful spirit born of Maria's soul-crushing guilt and the tormented soul of her murdered child, is not satisfied. A confession from one of the guilty is not enough. It demands the presence of the other, Father Neil. Father Neil is summoned, and as he steps into the room, the possession seems to surge right back into Maria. She slowly lifts her head, her black eyes fixing on the two of them. In that instant, an unseen force yanks both Father Neil and Mother Agnes off their feet, lifting them helplessly into the air. They are powerless, suspended like marionettes. The climax is swift and utterly terrifying. The candles that had been extinguished suddenly flare back to life. Two of them shoot through the air like fiery darts, striking Mother Agnes and Father Neil. They are set ablaze, instantly. Suspended in midair, engulfed in supernatural flames, they burn as everyone else can only watch, frozen in horror. Two sinners. Two victims. Their punishment delivered by a force beyond comprehension. There was nothing anyone could do but bear witness as this fiery, brutal justice was finally served. So here we see the final accounting. Father Neil, who broke his vows and murdered his own child. Mother Agnes, who conspired in that murder to protect an institution. Both meet the same horrific end. As their bodies fall to the floor, Maria's own body collapses. The spirit's revenge now complete. The possession is over. In the quiet that follows, there is only shock and devastation. Father Neil and Mother Agnes are dead. Maria, though physically broken, with bones snapped during the violent possession, is rushed to a hospital. She at least survives the ordeal. But the story does not end there. The horror left permanent scars. Maria lived, but she was forever haunted by the memory of what she had endured and the terrible vengeance enacted through her. Even the experienced exorcist, Father Adamant, was deeply traumatized by what he witnessed. The two churches involved were shut down forever, their holy ground irredeemably stained by the sins committed there.
And that leaves us with a final haunting question. In this chain of tragedy, from forbidden love to murder and finally to supernatural revenge, where does the greatest sin lie? With the man who broke his vows, the woman who enabled his crime, or the tormented spirit that sought its own terrible form of justice through fire and death? It's a question that lingers long after the horror has